Diamonds in the rough. NFL Draft Diamonds. Time to shine.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and we are presented by the Hula Bowl. Today I have with me Jack Cochrane. He's a linebacker out of South Dakota. How's your day going, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, Jimmy.
Yeah, nice to have you on. I mean, obviously, Jack, I understand you as really one of the better linebackers at the small school level. But I just kind of want to get to know you a little bit. Tell me maybe about maybe where you're from and just kind of get us up to speed as to, you actually getting there to South Dakota.
Yeah, I grew up in Mount Vernon, Iowa, so a small town, eastern Iowa, not far from like Cedar Rapids and Iowa City. Grew up with two older sisters who were both super involved in athletics. My dad worked in athletics, so I was kind of around sports my whole childhood, and ended up playing four sports in high school, and eventually decided on football and landed at South Dakota, where I really just kind of love the people and the community atmosphere around the place, and I've loved it here ever since.
Gotcha. So, I mean, coming out of Iowa, I was sitting here thinking, like, how in the world does a guy get from Iowa to South Dakota? So, I mean, were there other like schools like offering you like at the time? I mean, tell me about that and really exactly, what I guess what makes South Dakota real special.
Yeah, I kind of had it narrowed down between a preferred walk-on at the University of Iowa and an offer here, and and just visiting both places, I really just enjoyed the people at South Dakota, and on my visit, and I could tell they were genuine and really cared about myself as an athlete and the person, and coming from a small town, that was something that really spoke to me. Vermillion, where University of South Dakota is, kind of reminded me a lot of my hometown, and just hanging out with the guys, it really felt comfortable for me, and still providing that elite atmosphere of football and an environment where I could feel really comfortable. It was ended up being a pretty easy choice for me.
Yeah, I mean, kind of interesting. You said you could have been a preferred walk-on to Iowa. I mean,
Yeah.
actually a pretty big kid. I mean, you're 6'3", 235 pounds. So, I mean, who knows, man? Like you could have, been solid there at Iowa, but I mean, obviously found yourself there at South Dakota, really doing some excellent things. I know back in 2019, you had an excellent season, probably one of the best seasons you ever had, going over 100 tackles. Actually ended up with a few sacks and a couple interceptions as well in that season. And nowadays, I mean, obviously doing great things and on pace for another 100 tackle season. So, tell me about you as a linebacker. What do you feel separates you as a prospect?
Yeah, you get that question. I'm sure you have a ton of guys who just say, they work hard, and that's what makes them different. And honestly, I just feel like the way I approach the game is just a little bit different. The way I compete and the process that I apply each week is really something that I take pride in, and cherish each opportunity each week. So I just think my approach to the game and the intensity that I compete with is kind of what makes me a unique player.
Gotcha. And when we think about you as a linebacker, I remember watching you at some point, and in my notes, I just kind of wrote, "This guy does a very good job defending the pass." Obviously, again, back in 2019, like I said, you got yourself a couple INTs, and even this season, you got two of them against you and I. So, obviously, a guy that can be trusted to drop back into coverage. But what style of a linebacker are you? I mean, is there maybe a person in the league that you're emulating, trying to be? Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I can do most things that a linebacker needs to do. Obviously, big part of linebacker, and the first thing that most people think of is being able to play downhill against the run. And I think that's something I've really improved at, and gotten to be pretty good at here in the last couple of years. But for me, always the guy that I always really look up to at the linebacker position was Luke Kuechly, who's obviously retired now, and just the way he approaches film study, and the way he plays the game, how hard he plays, and just being a step ahead of the offense is something that I always really admired of him, and something that I try to emulate in my own game.
Yeah, and the other thing too, again, Jack, is you're a team captain. So tell me about you as a team captain, really kind of what kind of leader you are for your program.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's an incredibly special honor. To have my teammates hold me in high enough regards to be able to represent them to the coaches and community and stuff like that. So definitely incredible honor. As a leader, I try and stay after guys about, taking the same approach each day and being really consistent in their efforts. So I'd say I'm pretty verbal in that aspect, but at the same time, just even though, you have that term captain next to you, still trying to approach the game and approach each day the way everyone else does. I'm not special because I'm a captain. I've just been put in that position. So, just another one of the guys who, works hard and busts his butt every day, just with a couple extra responsibilities.
Gotcha. So are you the rah rah kind of guy? I mean, are you there hyping up the rest of your team? I mean, is that a responsibility that you're comfortable having?
Yeah, I get pretty intense and pretty excited. So yeah, I would say I bring a lot of juice each day, which it's one of those things that I probably just do naturally and would probably do even if I wasn't a captain. So yeah, I definitely can be the rah rah guy at times too.
Sweet, I love it. So Jack, one of the questions that I've been talking to guys about, a lot of small schools that were shut down in 2020 because of the pandemic. I mean, COVID-19 hit everybody in its own way. I mean, obviously, it's been frustrating. But you guys didn't play in 2020. You did play some a little bit, I believe, in the spring. But tell me about maybe what you did during that time. I mean, if there was a part of your game that you try to get better at, and really how you stayed motivated.
Yeah, it was strange. Like you said, it was difficult. It was difficult for everyone, I think, to stay motivated because usually you have benchmarks that are right in front of you. Well, I'm working towards this, working towards that, and there's just a lot of question marks about we didn't even know we were going to play next. Was it going to be the spring? Was it going to be the next fall? So it was definitely difficult, but at the same time, I kind of just tried to focus on the opportunity that provided to develop as a football player and physically. So we got a bunch of extra time in the weight room and with our training staff. So I really tried to develop myself more as an athlete and, kind of hone in on the intricacies of the linebacker position. And I think that extra time was a great opportunity for that.
Gotcha. And because we kind of chat about you kind of honing things in like in the weight room,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your approach in the weight room and maybe even like a favorite lift there.
Yeah. I've always loved the weight room. Ever since I was middle school and high school, I just weight training has never been something that I didn't like. It was something I get to do, not something I have to do. And our strength staff at University of South Dakota, Clayton McLeod and Caleb Heim, just do an incredible job with us and making us better athletes, stronger, more explosive. And we focus a lot on Olympic lifts, so I would say cleans and snatches are two of my favorite lifts. But yeah, I've just always loved the weight room and loved training.
Great. Any personal best you want to drop or
Yeah,
no?
I hit a clean at 365. Let me think. Would have been a little over a year ago now. So that was kind of a benchmark I'd set out for myself for a while. So that one felt good to accomplish.
Nice. That's a pretty good number. You said 365, so sweet. Love it. Um, so I want to also talk to you about a different type of prep, and that's in the film room. So give me maybe an example of how like you really studied your opponent there in the film room, and it really paid off in a game time situation. So you're trying to pick up on like the tendencies and stuff, and then like boom, like game day hits, and you really took advantage of it. So
Yeah, our film study is obviously very intense. Obviously we have meetings every day, we knock a lot of it out there, but then I also usually have the linebackers over to my house after practice each night during the week and we watch extra film, go over tendencies, and then I'm usually spending a couple hours, each day on my own, looking at other things, ways I can be a step ahead. And I think that pays dividends. I think there's times where you see a certain formation and there's only a couple plays that you could get, and maybe the running back is lined up a little farther one way than the other. Linebacker, the lineman is set back a little bit far, and there's definitely been times where I've kind of guessed the play before it happened and was able to play pretty fast to it and make a play.
great. So what do you feel has like been your most memorable moment there uh, for South Dakota?
Yeah, there's been a ton. I mean, my freshman year, we were a playoff team and made it to the second round and lost a tough one in the second round. But as a freshman, I got to contribute a little bit on that team on defense and both on defense and on special teams. And that was really awesome for me, and something that I knew at that time I couldn't take for granted, because we haven't been able to get back there since. Trying to get back there this year. And then obviously we had a big win against South Dakota State in 2019. It was the first time we'd beaten them since, it'd been like 15 years or something like that. So that was a huge win for the state, and kind of for the pride in our program. So hopefully we can continue and make some more great moments here the rest of this year.
Right. I mean, obviously, in a very, very competitive conference, Missouri Valley Conference. I mean, I think across the board, I mean, probably one of the more competitive conferences at the FCS level. So you guys are really, grinding it, in each and every one of those games, trying to figure out like who's going to be on top. So nice, at least going back to 2019, getting the better of one of your rivals there. Definitely a nice thing. So, Jack, I kind of wanted to go back into your history a little bit so you could share somewhat. You talked at the beginning there about really participating in other sports, wrestling, baseball, track. Tell me how those have really helped you as a football player.
Yeah, it was kind of just something that you did. In my hometown, I grew up, like I mentioned, my sisters played 4 sports in high school, so it really wasn't anything out of the ordinary for me. It's kind of just what you did. But being in wrestling, track, and baseball, I really think it gives you a great perspective for the idea of competing in competition, and just being surrounded by competition year round. I think really develops, not only physically and becoming a well-rounded athlete, but just having competition be a part of your life, because ultimately that's what football is about. It's the ultimate competition of a game. So I think I just became really familiar with that concept of competing, and also just through putting my body through different sports, I think it helped me become a pretty well-rounded athlete too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a very well-rounded athlete. I mean, talking about a guy who I'm trying to read my notes here. Qualified for state in wrestling, was an all-conference baseball player, and won state in track with the 4x800. 4x800 is crazy because I mean, obviously now you're this 235-pound like beast of a linebacker. So I'm assuming you weren't that big back in high school, right?
No, I think I was probably about 190 or 195 when I was running that, which is still pretty big for an 800 runner. But yeah, track was something that both my older sisters ran in college, so it was a big part of my family, and we had a lot of success. Won state in relay, and then was runner up in a few other events, and we ended up being team runner ups my senior year. So definitely love track. I feel like it really helped develop my speed, and yeah, had some great experiences too.
Yeah, man, I was an 800 runner at like 130 pounds. So
It's a grind.
it's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
Let's kind of get a chance to meet Jack Cochrane outside of sports. I mean, one of the things that I saw is that I want to say you're at least a 3-time all-academic, Missouri Valley guy. Is that accurate? I mean,
Yeah, something like that. There's a bunch of different academic awards. There's the honor roll. But I've had a few of them.
yeah. Talk to me a little bit about you as a student, and then we'll kind of chat about some other things. So,
Yeah, I just grew up in education was something that my parents, kind of expected me to do well in. So I think that was a big part of it. And also, I've always just tried to like be consistent in the way I approach each aspect of my life. So I'm obviously a very competitive dude on the football field, and I try and take that into the classroom with me too, and just be competitive and doing my best in assignments and on tests and papers and stuff like that. I think has really helped me just be consistent throughout my life, and it's helped me take a good approach in the classroom as well as on the field.
gotcha. And I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're a criminal justice major?
Yep, criminal justice, and I have a minor in business administration.
Nice. And tell me something about you outside of sports, again, like that you feel is very interesting. Hobbies, interests, anything that you got that we can chat about.
Nothing wild. I'm a big movie guy. Definitely, me and my friends love watching movies and breaking down movies. Probably more than is necessary. I like being outside. Typical Midwest things, hunting, fishing, stuff like that. So.
All right. So I'm thinking in my head some movies. I'm pretty sure you've watched like the Avengers stuff.
Oh yeah.
So If you could be a character in the Marvel universe, who would you be?
Man, I mean, it's tough to not say Iron Man. I mean, he's this incredible, smart dude. He's incredibly witty and charming. So Iron Man's up there. Thor's literally a god, so that'd be neat too. So, but I feel like being a superhero is pretty great, no matter how you slice it up.
All right. And so if there was the zombie apocalypse and you had to pick three of your teammates to be in your corner, who would you pick?
Okay, okay. I'm going for one. I'm gonna go Brock Mogensen, who's our Will, who's I've played next to now for about 2.5 years, and is just incredible in the way he approaches the game and works his butt off. So I think he's taking out some zombies for sure. Another guy, EJ Reed, is our safety. Another incredible player who I've spent a lot of time with and really trust as a player in person. So I think he's also, doing some damage to some zombies. And our last, probably on offense, I'm taking Brett Sampson, who's our tight end. Another guy who is incredibly talented and also has got a little crazy in him. So, a guy you want to have around you.
Nice. Jack, as we begin to wrap things up, I try and ask this question to everybody. It's really just the why question. So tell me why you play this game of football and just a bit of your motivation, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, I've always just loved competing. To me, there's nothing like being out there in the field and just putting your all out there, not only physically, but emotionally. And I think that's something that isn't around as much today as it used to be, is that idea of just being willing to put yourself emotionally out there. And I truly enjoy doing that each week. And I've found that desire and that passion for competing through football. It's a game I've loved my entire life. Being out there with the 10 other guys that are pushing towards a common goal is I think it's a special human experience. So that's kind of what drives me, and that's why I love football.
Great. And lastly, I want you to give your pitch to all these teams in the NFL. I mean,
Oh, boy.
why should they take a chance on you, draft you, sign you? What would they be getting in a teammate like you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a guy who's willing to do whatever it takes. Whatever they ask of me, on the field, off the field. I think I'm a guy who's just gonna put himself fully into being a successful member of that team in whatever role they give to me. So, no matter what, athletically, and whether or not it's translating on the field, I think I'm a guy that is just a good guy to have around each day, and the way that I approach the game.
Yeah, I mean, what I see in you really is like a complete linebacker overall. I mean, again, excellent size, 6'3", 235 pounds, a guy who can drop back into coverage and does very well doing that, and can also come up and stop the run. I mean, really just a complete like overall linebacker that I feel again displays leadership and willingness to excel. So I think teams would be getting an excellent player in bringing you to their team. So, Jack, I do appreciate your time, and thank you for this interview, bud.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. Again, this is Jack Cochrane. He's a linebacker out of South Dakota. Definitely check him out.